Well, hey there everyone. So as I mentioned in the previous weeks that I've been struggling with my style and my wardrobe for a while. So a couple weeks ago I did make a few items for my summer wardrobe that were more focusing on items being wearable and things that I sewed to be things that I'll actually wear. And so this week I want to focus on adding a little bit more whimsy into my wardrobe. So yes, it is getting warm. I know everybody's doing spring videos right now, but I have to do summer videos because this week the high is gonna be 99. So I'm doing summer wardrobe videos this week. So one of the patterns that I've been looking at for quite some time was a pattern from this lovely person on Etsy. And it's like a romper kind of situation, and it just looks so cute, and I really want to make it. So I thrifted some things like usual. One of the things I found was this fun, I think it's a tablecloth. This fun tablecloth with all these pretty colors, and I really want to make that into this romper. And so in the legs of this romper, there's like little diamond cutouts to make it like frilly, and so I want those to be like a contrasting kind of color or an enhancing kind of color. So this is, I think, a tablecloth that I picked up as well at Goodwill. And it's kind of hard to tell, but it's like a nice olive green. So I kind of want those to be like the darts of the romper pants. So I for sure want to make that romper in this video. And depending on how much time I have left, I think I want to do, because I picked up multiple of those green tablecloths. So I think I want to try and make some overalls, I'm thinking. I don't know if I'll make the patchwork. I don't know if I'll make a pattern or if I'll make one of myself, but I think I do want to try that. So that's if I do have time, because I'm pretty sure that's going to be a quick process. And I don't think the romper is going to take that long either, so I will probably have time for those and just add a little bit more whimsy to my wardrobe because I love an overall. So yeah, I have to print out the pattern and cut it out and tape it all together. Not in that order, and then I can go ahead and start cutting out all of my pattern pieces for the romper. So let's go ahead and do that. So before we even start sewing anything together, we have to finish the edges of all of these pieces. So since this romper is in so many strips, there's going to be a ton of exposed edges, so I'm just going to zigzag on every single edge of every single piece. And the pockets as well also get a little zigzag around all of the edges. And I'm also going to do the same for the little darts at the bottom of the pants. Now that everything is finally all finished on the edges, we can start to sew things together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the two halves of the pants. So we're going to work in two halves, and I'm going to start sewing the little triangles onto the edges of these specific pieces. Now before we start to sew things together, we're going to get the pockets out of the way. So we're going to pin the pocket rices together where we need them on each of these 4 pieces. And then when we're done with that, we're going to iron the pocket out. And then we take the two pieces and lay them on top of each other, right sides together, and then we're going to sew up around the pocket and then up the rest of the way. Now that the pockets are added, we can keep adding panels to the front of this bodice here. And now we're going to move on to the back of the bodice. So again, we're going to take those two panels and put them right sides together and sew them. And then we're going to take the final back panel and place the right sides together and sew it onto each of the two back panels. And now we can add the side front and the side back together down the side seam. So once we've done that to the two halves of this romper, now it's time to sew the front and the back together. So we're just going to sew along that curve and all the way up to the top. And then finally, the middle crotch can also be sewn together. So you are supposed to add a bias tape to this, but I did not want to do that, especially with this thick material. So I did end up just folding over the hem on both the arms and the neckline. And then I went ahead and hemmed the shorts as well. Now this pattern doesn't have a tie, but I wanted to add one just to add a little bit more form to it. So I'm just going to take two long strips and then fold them in half, turn them right sides out, and then seam rip down these sides, just a little gap where I want to put these ties, and then insert them and sew them back up. Okay, so I did finish the first piece, and so I do have some time, but I fear not enough time to do the overalls. Also, I feel like they're just not as whimsical as I want them to be. So I had an idea, and so I think I will still use this material, and I think I'm going to transition and make a wrap shirt. So for the romper, I elected to not use the shiny side, but for the wrap shirt, I do want to use the shiny side just because I'm going to have really big flowing sleeves on this wrap shirt. And I want to be able to see like the shine and the drape of everything. So I am going to get a pattern from this lovely person on Etsy. And like I said, it's just going to be a nice like wrap shirt, big flowy sleeves. I feel like that just gives like whimsical kind of witchy vibes. And that's exactly what I want for this video. So we're going to go ahead and print that out and tape together everything and cut out the pattern. And then go ahead and start cutting out the clothing pieces. So for the rupture pattern that I got, there is a massive ruffle. So to get this ruffle, it's basically this massive spiral that we're just going to cut out, basically making a long strip. Now the first thing that we're going to do for sewing is we're going to sew the 2 front bodice pieces onto the back bodice piece at the shoulder. And I am going to zigzag all of the edges to keep the fraying down. Then I'm also going to sew it together down the side seams. Now, this bodice was supposed to have 2 layers, but I thought that that would be too thick, so I am only going to do 1 layer. So to get rid of the exposed edges, I'm just going to fold the hem and sew all the way around the neckline and the straps and everything. Now, since this is a curved edge for the ruffle for the sleeve, it's not super easy to get a hem, so I'm doing the method where I'm going to fold up the hem once and sew really close, and then trim the excess fabric, and then fold over the hem one last time and sew a really small hem. And then the other side of the ruffle is just going to get a zigzag. Now, there were 2 of these ruffles, but I could not be bothered to do both of them because that took forever to do just the one. So I am just going to have 1 ruffle, and it's just not going to be as ruffly as it should be. Now, looking at this with the ruffle, I did not like it. So I basically just kind of wasted like an hour and a half making this ruffle. But it's okay. So I ended up seam ripping and taking the ruffle off, and then I just did a rolled hem on the edges of the sleeve, and it worked out fine. And then finally, the sleeves were added to the top, and then I did a zigzag stitch around the inside of the sleeve to keep down on fraying, and we are ready for the final look. These pieces going together was 100% not intentional, but oh my god, do I love it so much. I think it's because I used the same material for the little pleats here, for the top, which I also wasn't planning on doing. And literally I just saw them like hung up together and they just turned out so cute together. However, I am so warm. It's so warm. But yeah, this first piece, the romper, incredible. I can't even explain to you how incredible it is. The pattern was so good. Everything actually fit. I was going to take in the side seams just a little bit, but then I realized since there's no like zipper or application to get it on, which I could have added but I didn't, I would not have been able to get it like up my body. So I did end up putting a tie in the back, which the original pattern does not have. And it does cause like a little bit of like bunching in the back, but honestly I think it looks fine. And I really like the way that it like fits and everything. And then for the for this wrap shirt, I am glad that I decided not to go with the ruffle. A ruffle would have been cute, but I did not want to do it. So it also does suck that I wasted like an hour and a half on prepping the ruffles and then not using them. Also, if I would have added them, it would have been like way too long because it's already pretty long on me. And I just, so no ruffles for this one, but it fits really, really well. I am glad that I only did the one layer as well because I'm already sweating in this, and if I had 2 layers, it would be just way too warm. Maybe if I had like a thinner material, it would be fine with 2 layers, but not with this curtain material. And surprisingly, I don't hate the curtain material because usually when you use like a curtain, sometimes you can just tell that it is a curtain. But I think with like the shininess and flowiness of it, it honestly worked really well. And I was a little worried with the romper because since this is such a light material and the tablecloth was such a thick material, I was worried that it wasn't going to flow well together, but it actually does. So I'm happy that that worked out. And I think the color scheme goes together really well too. Like I am getting to such 70s vibes with this, and it is my favorite thing. Where I would wear such thing, I have to discover that because I really want to wear this out. But I guess for now it's for the couch. So yeah, I think this 100% does add some whimsy to my wardrobe because look at this thing. And it's definitely different than any other item of clothing that I have. And they do actually work. Just don't look on the inside of this because there's so many seams on the inside, and I only did like a half decent job on covering them up. But besides that, I think it's swell. I would definitely, honestly, I would definitely make this romper again with like a different vibe because there's so many, I think, ways that you can go with this. But for this specific vibe, I'm so glad that I found this curtain, and I'm so glad, or this tablecloth, and then this curtain, which also might be a tablecloth, I can't remember, but I'm so glad I found them. Also, the greens just go so well with like my hair color, and honestly, I was a little afraid that the greens would clash with the other green on the romper, but I think it just looks really good. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, making some whimsical clothing. I definitely want to explore some more of this genre of style because this just makes me so giddy. I love it so much. So anywho to do, if you like what I did, go and like and subscribe. I post most Saturdays, mostly at noon, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.